Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel for the first time. I am so excited for today's video. So excited to finally show you the end product. Out of all the renovation videos I've done on my channel, this one was my least favorite project. It was a whole lot more work than I was ever expecting, and I never ever want to do a project like this again, even though I know that this was just opening the can of worms for the rest of the house. So that's okay. As you guys can tell by the title of this video, this is my hallway transformation. This hallway is our upstairs hallway. All of these doors go to bedrooms, bathrooms, offices, etc. Here's my dog. Oof. Hi baby. Whenever I start filming, he runs up and he hears me. I love you so much. He's such a good help. He was crucial in making sure this project got done, right? Yes. Okay. Alright, well, because my video from last time when I did the pantry remodel got so many positive comments, I decided to do the same style video for this one too, where I'm showing you the end product first and I'll tell you everything about how I got there. So, to start, this hallway was atrocious and the whole downstairs is also that way because the previous homeowners used the same exact ugly beigey, creamy, yellow, brown color on all of the walls, trim, ceiling, doors, everything, and it was awful. I am someone who loves clean lines, white ceilings, white trim, white doors. I was going to go with a colored door, but I decided it would just look best with the gray color. I had to go with a white clean color. These are the same paint colors I used in our old house. But the original colors that they had on the walls and ceilings and trim and doors up here was an ugly cream yellow color. We also had an awful light over there with it was so yellowy and awful, and one of the first things I knew that we needed to do was replace that. So after deciding I wanted to renovate this hallway, the first thing that I did was sand down all of the walls and prep to paint. I like to sand the walls just to make sure they're nice and smooth. I like to fill all the holes from all of the pictures that were previously hanging that are not anymore. I just wanted a fresh, clean slate. So I sanded and spackled the walls. In reality, I probably should have painted the ceiling first. But for whatever reason, I thought, you know what, maybe I can just get away with this green color and paint the walls to see how it looked. But I ended up hating what it looked like. So I kind of did the whole project backwards, but I just wanted to test and see. So that's what I did. The gray that I chose for the walls is the exact same gray that we used in our old house. It is called Titanium by Behr. We got the Ultra interior eggshell. For my recent projects, I've actually been using this little $5 edger thing from Home Depot or Amazon. It makes everything so much easier. It lays on a really thick first coat. I did not tape down any of my edges because I wasn't for sure if I was going to repaint the trim or not, and I didn't want to waste my time if I was going to repaint it later. So I did not do that, and I just took this thing and went all the way around, and then David actually helped me roll the paint onto the walls later that night. Let me just say that the painting of this hallway was the absolute easiest of every step that I had. I did not appreciate that while we were going through and doing it, but looking back, that was absolutely the easiest and best part of the whole thing. After all of the walls were painted, I believe we did 2 coats of gray paint. I went through and taped off all of the trim because at that point I decided I could not do this cream color. It made the gray look weird. I just wanted white and fresh. I also got up and took off the covering of the ugly light that we had in our hallway and took out the bulb that was burnt out. At this point I had not gotten a new light bulb, so I didn't switch anything yet, but when it came down to it, I was going to replace this whole light fixture because it's like one of those ugly boob lights, but I decided that I wanted to take that money and put it towards the light fixture at the other end of the hallway that's going to be a part of a future video because that was going to be more of a statement piece, and this one would ultimately be fine. At this point, I also started taking the doors off of the hinges because I knew that they would be needing some new paint soon as well. This project took maybe a week and a half to do, with me working on and off on it. The next day I started on painting the trim and ceiling. I just used Ultra Pure White by Behr. The ceiling I used basic ceiling paint because it's nice and cheap and it doesn't need to be glossy or anything. But for the trim, I ended up getting semi-gloss so that it would be easier to clean for, you know, for touching it and all of that. And I also used the same semi-gloss paint on all of the doors. At this point in the project, I thought painting trim would be the worst out of everything because I hated it so much. But surprise to me, this was not my least favorite part. This was actually very manageable when I look back at it. But I ended up painting all of the trim for all of the doors and ceilings and trim on the ground. Since this carpet was new, I actually had to make a plan so that I did not get paint all over the carpet, and I decided to take one of the paint sticks that they give you to stir paint, and I would just put it up against the trim and push it back to push the carpet down, and then use an angled paintbrush to paint the trim. This worked pretty well, and I barely got any on the carpet, so I was very, very proud of myself. I did end up deciding that I wanted to update the hardware on the door as well, so after doing a lot of research, I decided to replace the latch strikes for the door because they'll get a lot of wear and tear with the door opening and closing, and then also the hinges. I just decided to order new black ones. Those will be linked in my Amazon shop down below if you guys are interested in the ones that I got. They were actually pretty cheap. I think I got 18 black door hinges for like $27, $28. I could be wrong. It's been a couple weeks since I actually did all of this stuff, but I think that's what it was when I bought it. So once everything was painted for the trim, I just put the door latches on. We also updated all of the outlets and switches and everything in the hallway to be white instead of the mix match of cream and white and like dirtiness that they were before. Nothing matched. So we decided to make it all uniform. After that, it was time to take the painter's tape off. I just use a box cutter knife to make this easier. It helps make things come up with clean lines and not get stuck and pull a bunch of your hard work off. And then it was time for me to start the absolute worst part of this project. I hated this job. I would never wish it on my worst enemy, but I wanted to do this as a DIY to spruce up the hallway, make it brighter, stand out more. I know that these doors would be a huge difference in the way that the hallway worked, and I knew I wanted to spend the time doing this correctly instead of doing it half-heartedly and having to go back in a couple years and redo them again. So I took these ugly doors and I set them up in our garage, and I sanded and sanded and sanded and sanded and sanded. I used 120 grit sandpaper, and I had to go through on all of the indents and rivets in the door and hand sand all of those parts. It was the worst. I swear all of my fingernails were coming off. Like, my poor hands were so dry and rough, and it was a lot of hard work. After doing the inner parts of the door, I used an electric sander for everything else. These doors were really tricky because they had used like a very basic matte paint before and then stuck semi-gloss on it and then had a different type of paint on that, and so it was just layer and layer and layer of different paints that no one had ever sanded between. So pieces were peeling up, other pieces were staying down, the doors were very textured. It was not ideal to work with, and I knew that I just had to do this right to make it all come together. Sanding took forever, and I really hated that, but it did make painting go a whole lot smoother. Once I was done sanding, I wiped the doors completely clean so that I wouldn't have any of the sanding residue anywhere. I cleaned out the garage so that I wouldn't get anything on the fresh painted doors, and I set all the doors up again. In this video, it looks like I'm only doing 3 doors. I had to do 4. I just waited so long to do the last one because I was so unmotivated after doing those 3 that I just did not want to go back and do the fourth one again. But I did end up painting them all white. I just Googled on Pinterest the proper way to paint one of these doors so that I could reduce the amount of lines, and I ended up finding a pretty effective way to do it, and the doors look pretty nice now. Even though I did end up updating some of the hardware for the doors, I knew that I did not want to budget for new door handles. So I decided to do a lot of research and decide how I was going to save them. I ended up finding a tutorial online and found a few different hacks for spray painting everything for the door handle. The first thing that I did was find a cardboard box and stick all of the nails that I was going to be using in them so that I could only spray paint the tops of them. This little Nature Valley protein box worked excellent for that. The next thing I did was sand down the actual doorknobs. They said in the tutorial that I found that they would absolutely recommend this. I don't know that I would. They said that when they sanded and then spray painted, like, you couldn't feel the previously sanded stuff. I can feel mine on my doors. It doesn't really bother me, but it bothers me knowing that I caused that roughness on the door that wasn't there before. So, you know, do it if you want. You don't have to. I don't know that I would recommend it, but I did end up sanding them just ever so slightly. In all of my research, I also found that it would be best to do a priming coat, color coat, and then a top coat, and so I just used this Rust-Oleum Professional Primer. For the black, I decided to use the Rust-Oleum Universal Paint and Primer in one in black, and I used a satin finish. And then for the top coat, I used the Rust-Oleum Universal Clear Durable Top Coat in Dead Flat. This part of the project did not take long at all, and I was actually very manageable. I really enjoyed it compared to the doors that I was working on. Each door got 2 coats of white paint per side, and then after that I added the hinges that I had gotten from Amazon. I used a drill for all of this, and it made it so much easier on me. One of the last things I did for this project was the window. All of our windows here are wood, and they were also painted in the ugly cream color that was up here before. So one of the projects that I was absolutely dreading was going through and painting the window white. It looks excellent now, but I hated this project so much. I decided that I was going to be smart and not use as much painter's tape. So I got printer paper to put on the outs, like between the window pane things and the glass, because the panes are not within the glass, it's a layer like on top, like that we can touch on this side. And so I was like, why would I use so much painter's tape when I could just put printer paper back there and then just paint over it and not worry about, you know, making a mess, because I can just take it out later. FYI, because I did not think about this, once you paint wood panel things on, like with printer paper on the background, the paint just sticks to both of them. I was scraping with my box cutter trying to make this work. It did not work. You can literally stand outside, look at the window, and you can see the black that the window things are supposed to be, and then you can also see my sloppily cut out, where I couldn't get everything out, white printer paper stuck on the other side from the paint. So don't pull an Elizabeth. literally just invest in carefully taping all of it, or do a lot more research and see if you can get that insert thing out. I could not figure it out, so that was what I learned. That was my biggest learning bit from this project. At this point, I also finally got new daylight bulbs for that light. I love daylight bulbs in my house. A lot of people think they're too hospital-like or too blue, but I love them. I also added a new smoke detector because the old one was expired by a couple of years. Then I brought up all of the doors and put them back on the hinges, and they looked so good, especially the black handles. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with the way that they look. After all of this was done, I started adding the detail work. So I took the black and white photos that were in my office at the old house and I put them right here. I love them. I think they just look so good here because, you know, we have so much black, white, and gray going on in this hallway, and I just love how these photos bring it together. I also took the Mapiful that I had for the office in a video a few weeks ago. I think it looks so good on the end of the hallway, and then I will see it more often. Like, I just stand there and stare at it because I love the way this hallway looks so much. This hallway makes me so happy. So, like, even though it was a ton of work and I would never, ever, ever want to do it all again, I literally just stand here and, like, look at it. I'm like, wow, this hallway is ours. Even David, when he saw it for the first time, was like, wow, it feels a whole lot like our house again, you know? So we love that. Other than that, I also added a couch. I need to put something above the couch, but for right now, I'm at a loss for what goes there, and eventually we'll get to it, but that is how this hallway transformation turned out. I am absolutely obsessed with the way that it came together. I am so in love with it. It makes me so happy. Hard work pays off, right? Next will be the other side by where the stairs are. Not immediately next because I know I'm going to bang the walls getting stuff in and out for other renovations that I have up here, and I don't want to upset myself by ruining my hard work. But remember to subscribe to my channel so that you will be here to see that transformation, because that is going to be a lot. I'm also going to have some bathroom transformation stuff coming here soon, and I'm just so excited to share this journey with you guys. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! I love you. Bye, guys.